Individual sa China kumaripas ng takbo paalis sa landslide.
Inabutan naman kaya ang dalawa ng landslide ang kanilang lagay. Aalamin po natin mula sa mga balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi, ako po si Rikki Mathay. Nanawagan ng Pilipinas sa mga kapwa nitong miyembro ng Association of Southeast Asian Nations o ASEAN na magkaisa sa gitna ng mga banta sa seguridad ng West Philippine Sea o WPS.
Binigyang diin ni Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. na hindi domestic o regional concern lang ang banta sa WPS, kundi ito ay isang global issue na makaapekto sa international stability. Sa isinagawang ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting retreat sa Penang, Malaysia, ay ipinahayag ni Teodoro na dapat manatiling cohesive at proactive ang ASEAN sa pagsusulong ng regional stability sa buong Southeast Asia. Anya, kasama rito ang pagdepensa sa umiiral na international law at norms. Hinimok din ng kalihim ang mga ASEAN nations na paunlarin pa ang Operation Cooperation ng grupo sa pamamagitan ng pagpapalawak ng joint patrols, exercises at intelligence sharing sa defense forces ng isa't isa. Binalaan din ni Teodoro ang mga kalaban na subukang magsimula ng pagkakabahabahagi sa Southeast Asia.
Magsasagawa ng joint motu proprio investigation ang House Committee on Basic Education and Culture at ang House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability. Kaugnay po yan sa umano'y mga ghost beneficiaries sa Senior High School Voucher Program ng Department of Education. Sinabi ni Assistant Majority Leader Representative Jill Bongalon na kailangang umaksyon ng Kongreso sa pang-aabuso ng pondo ng DepEd para sa mga kapuspalad na estudyante. Anya, pinakikinabangan lamang ng mga korap na opisyal ng ahensya na kasabwat ang mga tiwaling opisyal ng mga private schools simula pa noong taong 2016.
I wanted that the parallel probe to be conducted by the House of Representatives should start as soon as possible. This is an issue na hindi po dapat mapabayaan, and I guess kailangan maimbestigahan in all angles. Ito pong naging issue ng ghosting dito po sa Senior High School Voucher Program.
Bilang bahagi ng selebrasyon ng National Women's Month sa Marso, nag-aalok ng libreng sakayang Light Railways Transit o LRT para sa mga kababaihan. Sa advisory ng LRT, ang kanilang serbisyo para kay Juana 2025 o libreng sakay sa LRT ay sa March 8 para sa mga kababaihan. Ang free rides ay mula 7 hanggang 9 ng umaga at 5 ng hapon hanggang 7 ng gabi sa lahat ng istasyon ng LRT. Sa mga nagnanais na maka-avail ng libreng sakay, ay maaaring i-claim ang free ticket sa ticket booth sa alinmang LRT2 stations.
Iniulat po ng Pag-asa na mananatiling storm-free ang Pilipinas hanggang sa unang linggo ng Marso. Ayon sa State Weather Bureau, kahit may ibang weather system sa bansa katulad ng shear line, amihan at easterlies, hindi ito makakaapekto sa pamumuo ng bagyo sa Philippine Area of Responsibility o PAR. Sa kasalukuyan, walang namomonitor ang Weather Bureau na namumuong tropical cyclone o low pressure area sa labas at loob ng PAR. Ngayong taong 2025, wala pang nabubuo o pumapasok na bagyo sa Pilipinas.
Planong itaas ng National Food Authority o NFA ang buying price ng mga palay. Ayon kay NFA Administrator Larry Lacson, may nakarating na ulat sa kanila na may nagbebenta ng 13 hanggang 14 pesos kada kilo na mga fresh o mga basang palay. Kung mapatutunayan na bumagsak nga ang buying price ng mga palay, ay inaasahan na sa susunod na linggo ay tataasan na ng NFA ang presyo ng mga ito. Sa ngayon, ang NFA buying price ng wet palay ay nasa 18 hanggang 19 pesos kada kilo, habang ang dry na palay naman ay nasa 23 pesos kada kilo. Umaasa naman ang ahensya na magkakaroon ng dagdag na kita ang mga magsasaka kapag napataas na nila ang buying price ng mga palay.
At good news naman po para sa mga motorista dahil asahan sa susunod na linggo ang halos nasa pisong bawas presyo sa mga produktong petrolyo. Ayon sa Department of Energy Oil Industry Management Bureau, posibleng nasa 90 sentimos hanggang piso at 20 sentimos ang maaaring rollback sa kada litro ng gasolina at diesel, habang piso at 30 sentimos hanggang piso at 50 sentimos ang maaaring bawas presyo sa kada litro ng kerosene o gas.
Susunod, aircraft at warships ng China na mataan sa Taiwan.
Missile test pinangunahan ni Kim Jong-un.
At United Nations itinigil ang food aid sa Sudan. Yan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
This portion.
This event honors those who have made an extraordinary impact in shaping the marketing landscape and advocates of sustainability, education, and social enterprise. Here are the 43rd Agora Awards by the Philippine Marketing Association.
It was a matter of really taking time to understand the consumer, how you can unlock the pain points that they're experiencing.
That's what we do. We stay relevant, we stay connected, and we stay updated.
It's just a remarkable show of how marketing can change behavior and help a country become even more financially literate.
Open for business with Cesar Vallejos. Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sunday 25.
Na-detect ang nasa 45 Chinese aircraft malapit sa Taiwan. Sa isang statement, iniulat ng Taiwan Defense Ministry na maliban sa mga Chinese aircraft, naispatan din ang 14 na barkong pandigma malapit sa isla. Ito na ang pinakamataas na bilang ng mga air at sea assets ng China na na-detect ng Taiwan ngayong taon. Ang namataang bulto ng mga Chinese aircraft naman malapit sa self-ruled island ay isang araw matapos kondenahin ng Taiwan ang anunsyo ng China na pagsasagawa ng live fire drills 40 nautical miles malapit sa timog na bahagi ng isla. Ayon sa ahensya, wala namang naganap na anumang live fire exercises sa itinalagang drill zone ng China malapit sa isla at walang ginawang anumang makapagpapalala ng military tensions ang naturang deployment. Ayon naman sa two senior Taiwanese officials, ang hakbang ng China ay hawig ng iba pang military activity nito kamakailan sa rehiyon, kagaya ng mga sa disputed waters at sa may baybayin ng Australia, kung saan hindi nagbibigay ng anumang abiso ang Chinese Navy sa kanilang isinasagawang pagsasanay. Ayon naman sa Beijing, parte lamang daw ito ng isang routine training exercise at wala naman silang balak palakihin ang naturang issue.
台有关部门针对解放军例行演训活动发表的言论纯属炒作，我们要求其停止耍心机、蹭热点。
Nasa 40 Uyghurs ang pinadeport ng gobyerno ng Thailand patungo sa China. Matapos ang 10 taong pananatili sa Bangkok Detention Center ay dinala na ang mga ito sa Xinjiang region sa China. Itinuloy pa rin ito ng Thailand kahit napangamba ang mga sinasabing o pangamba ng mga sinasabing right groups na mahaharap ang mga ito sa torture o aabot pa sa kamatayan. Inakusahan kasi ang China ng pagsasagawa ng krimen at paglabag sa karapatang pantao maging ang posibilidad ng genocide laban sa mga Uyghur population at maging mga Muslim ethnic groups sa northwestern region ng Xinjiang. Ito rin ang unang pagkakataong pinadeport ng Thailand ang mga Uyghur na ang huli ay noon pang taong 2015.
Nag-aalala naman si U.S. State Secretary Marco Rubio sa kalagayan ng 40 Uyghur deportees pabalik sa China. Giit ni Rubio maaaring makaranas muli ng forced labor at pang-aabuso ang mga ito sa Beijing. Inakusahan ni Rubio ang Thailand na nilabag nito ang international obligation sa ilalim ng United Nations Convention Against Torture and other global conventions. Nanawagan din ang opisyal sa gobyerno ng Thailand na patuloy nitong konsultahin ang mga otoridad ng China kung pinoprotektahan ba nga nito ang karapatan ng pantao ng mga Uyghur population. Hinikayat ni Rubio ang ibang mga bansa na protektahan ang mga Uyghur at huwag silang puwersahing ibalik sa China. Depensa naman ng Embahada ng China, sumunod ang Beijing at Bangkok sa kanilang international at domestic laws. Nanindigan din ng Embahada na ang mga karapatan at interes ng mga na-deport na individual ay pinoprotektahan nito. Anya, huwag sanang gamitin ang issue ng Xinjiang para manghimasok sa gobyerno ng China.
至于你提到的美方有关政客的言论，我要指出的是，所谓种族灭绝、强迫劳动，是赤裸裸的世纪谎言。一些国家和个别政客编造、散布涉疆的谎言，目的就是要搞乱新疆。中方坚决反对打着人权等幌子干涉中国内政，反对借涉疆问题干扰国家间的正常执法合作。有关方面和政客应停止炮制、散布涉疆的谎言、谬论。
Hindi naman silang ayunan ng United Nations ang pag-deport ng Thailand sa 40 Uyghurs pabalik ng China.
The UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk says the deportation of 40 ethnic Uyghurs to China is a clear violation of international human rights laws and standards. The men, who were part of a larger group, have been held in poor conditions at a number of immigration detention facilities in Thailand since March 2014. 5 have died in custody, 8 are believed to remain in detention. Our office has repeatedly urged the Thai authorities to respect their obligations under international law in relation to these individuals in need of international protection. It's deeply regrettable that they have been forcibly deported.
Dati nang nagbabala ang UN at iba pang human rights groups na maaari sila makaranas ng torture o kamatayan sa mga otoridad ng China. Ayon naman sa mga pahayagan sa Thailand, tila itinago ang pag-deport sa mga Uyghurs dahil tinakpan ang mga bintana ng mga truck kung saan nakasakay ang mga ito. Lumabas ng Immigration Center sa Bangkok ang mga naturang truck madaling araw ng Huwebes. Matapos ang ilang oras, nakita sa flight tracker ang unscheduled flight papuntang China. Kinulong ang nasabing grupo ng mahigit isang dekada sa Thailand matapos silang tumakas mula sa Xinjiang, China. Inaakusahan na rin ng Estados Unidos ang China sa paggawa ng crimes against humanity, paglabag ng karapatang pantao at posibleng genocide sa lahi ng mga Uyghur. Itinatagi naman ng China ang mga paratang na ito ng Estados Unidos.
2月27日，40名中国籍的偷渡人员从泰国被遣返回国。 此次的遣返依据中泰两国的法律、国际法和国际惯例进行，是双方合作打击偷渡等跨境违法犯罪的具体举措。相关人员的合法权益得到充分保护。一些政治势力和机构编造、散布涉疆的谎言，目的就是要搞乱新疆。中方坚决反对打着人权等幌子干涉中国内政。 反对借涉疆问题干扰国家间的正常执法合作，有关方面应停止炮制、散布涉疆的谎言谬论。
Si North Korean leader Kim Jong-un mismo ang nanguna sa test launch ng isang strategic cruise missile sa West Sea ng Korea. Ayon sa gobyerno ng Pyongyang, ginawa nito ang test launch upang magbabala sa mga kaaway na lumalabag sa seguridad ng North Korea. Nais din ito na ipakita ang kahandaan ng nuke operations ni Kim Jong-un. Matatandaan na nag-ata si Kim na palakasin ang nuclear capability ng North Korea upang epektibo anyang maprotektahan ang kanyang bansa.
$1.5 billion na crypto assets ang nawawala sa cryptocurrency site na Bybit. Sino po kaya ang tinuturong grupo ng Federal Bureau of Investigation na nasa likod ng biggest crypto heist in history? Lovely Apple Joyce Fabros para sa detalye.
Inakusahan ng US Federal Bureau of Investigation o FBI ang North Korea ng pagnanakaw ng $1.5 billion na digital assets sa cryptocurrency exchange na Bybit. Ayon sa FBI, kinonvert ng grupong Trader o Lazarus ang mga ninakaw na crypto assets sa Bitcoin at ikinalat ito sa iba't ibang address sa maraming blockchains. Inilipat nila ito ng iligal sa iba pang platforms o systems at pagkatapos ay kinonvert sa fiat currency. Dati nang nasangkot ang Trader sa isang hacking incident. Ang grupong ito ang siyang pinaniniwalaan noon na responsable sa pag-hack sa Sony Pictures bilang paghihiganti raw para sa pelikulang The Interview, na ayon naman sa North Korea ay isang palabas na pangungutya kay Pyongyang leader Kim Jong-un. Hindi naman nagbigay ng komento ang North Korea ukol sa kasalukuyang alegasyon ng FBI. Lovely Apple Joyce Fabros para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Kinumpirma ng militanteng grupong Hamas nitong Huwebes na handa na silang magsimula ng pag-uusap hinggil sa ikalawang phase ng ceasefire sa Gaza. Nangyari ito matapos pakawala ng ilang daang mga Palestinians mula sa mga bilangguan ng Israel kapalit ng mga katawan ng 14 Israeli hostages. Ang palitan ng mga bihag na ito ay nagmarka sa unang pagtatapos ng phase ng ceasefire na nagsimula noong Enero 19 matapos lang ang ilang linggong putukan. Sa isang pahayag, binigyang diin ng grupo ang tanging paraan upang mailigtas sa mga natitirang hostages sa Gaza ay ang patuloy na pagsunod sa ceasefire deal. Ayon naman kay Israeli Energy Minister Eli Cohen, ang pagbabalik daw ng mga natitirang 59 hostages ay isang mataas na prioridad at sinabi niyang walang kasunduan para sa ikalawang phase ng ceasefire kung mananatili ang Hamas sa Gaza. Nanindigan si Cohen na nagsabing mas malakas ang kanilang posisyon ngayon sa negosasyon dahil sa suporta ng bagong administrasyon ng Estados Unidos.
Diragsa ng mga sugatan ng isang ospital sa Congo matapos sumabog ang isang bomba sa rally ng mga rebelde. Angela Guzman po para sa balitang yan.
Dose-dosena ang namatay at higit sa 60 naman ang sugatan ng pasabugan ng isang rally ng mga rebelde sa silangang bayan ng Bukavu. Ayon sa mga biktima, pinaulanan sila ng mga granada.
Un sachet jeté devant nous là-bas. On n'a pas su ce qui était dans ce sachet. Qui riait qu'on était en train de voir ça. Directement, il y a un coup. Pouf! Nous sommes tombés par terre et on a pris fuite. Après quelques 20 ou 25 mètres, on a entendu le deuxième coup. Ça a encore klaxonné là-bas. Et nous sommes partis je suis parti jusqu'à une clinique là vers l'ISDR. Et après avoir eu les premiers soins là-bas, on nous a transférés ici à l'hôpital provincial général de référence. Là où je suis tellement blessé, c'est ici, au pôle. J'ai eu un peu 13 places où j'ai eu des balles. Donc les étincelles là de grenades. Oui.
Nagtakbuhan ng mga tao ng sunod-sunod ang pagsabog sa rally na pinungunahan ng lider ng mga rebelde na si Cornel Nanga. Ito ang kanyang kauna-unang pagharap sa publiko mula nang makontrol ng kanyang grupong M23, ang ikalawang pinakamalaking bayan ng silangang Congo. Inakusahan ni Nanga si Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi na iniutos ang pag-ataking ito. Ayon sa Congo, United Nations at iba pang Western powers, suportado ng Rwanda ang M23 rebel group ni Nanga. Itinatanggi ng Rwanda ang paratang na ito. Ang pag-abansa ng mga rebelde ay kinatatakutang magsimula ng giyera sa rehiyon. NJ Guzman para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Dahil sa eskalasyon ng karahasan sa North Darfur sa Sudan, pinatigil ng United Nations World Food Program ang pagrarasyon ng tulong na pagkain sa displaced camps. Dahil rito, nagbabala ang ahensya na makararamdam na matinding gutom ang mga naninirahan doon. Si Cherry Recolizado para sa balita.
Ang desisyon ng UN World Food Program na itigil pansamantala ang pamamahagi ng pagkain sa displaced camps sa North Darfur, Sudan, suspended ang mga aktibidad ng medical charity MSF sa Zamzam camp. Ang kampong ito ay target ng paulit-ulit na pag-atake ng paramilitary war ng Sudan na nagsimula noong Abril 2023. Ito ay sa gitna ng labanan sa pagitan ng Sudanese Armed Forces at ng RSF bago ang nakatakdang transition sa administrasyong sibil. Ito ang naging mitsa ng pinakamalaking displacement at hunger crisis ng mundo. Ayon kay senior UNAID official Adem Wusurnu, kumpirmado ng satellite imagery ang paggamit ng bigating armas sa loob at sa palibot ng Zamzam nitong mga nakaraang linggo. Gayon din ang pagbuwag sa pangunahing pamilihan sa kampo.
In North Darfur, 8 months after the Security Council adopted Resolution 2736, civilians remain under attack. Violence in and around the Zamzam displacement camp, estimated to be hosting hundreds of thousands of civilians, and where famine conditions have been confirmed, has further intensified. Satellite imagery confirms the use of heavy weaponry in and around Zamzam in recent weeks and the destruction of the main market facilities within the camp.
Dagdag ni Wusurnu, binabalot ng takot ang mga sibilyan sa kampo.
Terrified civilians, including humanitarian workers, were unable to leave the area when the fighting was most intense. Many were killed, including at least 2 humanitarian workers.
Noong Agosto, kinumpirma ng isang global committee ng food security experts ang matinding gutom sa kampo ng Zamzam.
Nearly 2 years of relentless conflict in Sudan have inflicted immense suffering and turned parts of the country into a hellscape. Some of the humanitarian dimensions of this crisis bear repeating. More than 12 million people displaced, including 3.4 million people who have fled across Sudan's borders. More than half of the country, 24.6 million people, experiencing acute hunger.
Idiniin ni Wusurnu ang matinding pangangailangan na magkaroon ng maayos na akses para sa tulong papasok ng Sudan.
We need real implementation of the repeated commitments to facilitate and enable unhindered, unfettered humanitarian access to civilians in need.
Noong Nobyembre, hindi inaprubahan ng Russia ang isang Security Council draft resolution na nananawagan sa naglalabang mga partido sa Sudan na tumigil na upang matiyak ang pagpasok ng humanitarian aid. Ito ay sa kabila ng suporta ng Russia sa gobyerno ng Sudan. Cherry Recolizado para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Inabot ni British Prime Minister Keir Starmer ang isang imbitasyon ni King Charles para kay US President Donald Trump. Subalit, parang hindi kaagad naniwala si Trump kay Starmer na galing nga sa hari ang nasabing sulat. Dahil sa imbes na pumayag agad si Trump ay magpunta sa London ay chinek niya muna kung totoo nga bang pirma nga ni King Charles ang nasa sulat na ibinigay ni Starmer.
And it is my pleasure to bring from His Majesty the King a letter. He sends his best wishes and his regards, of course, but he also asked me to bear this letter and bring it to you. So can I present the letter from the King to you?
Thank you very much. Am I supposed to read it right now?
Yeah, please do.
Oh, that's well. Well, that is really nice. I must make sure his signature's on that. Otherwise, it's not quite as meaningful. It is, and that's quite a signature, isn't it? Beautiful.
Si President Trump ang unang political leader sa modernong panahon na naimbitahan ng 2 beses ng British monarch para sa state visit. Una siyang tinanggap ni Queen Elizabeth sa Buckingham Palace noong taong 2019. Ayon naman sa ilang royal experts, ginagalang ni Trump ang British monarchy. Isa siya sa mga nagbigay na mensahe kay King Charles noong nagpagamot ito para sa sakit na cancer. Binanggit din ni First Lady Melania sa kanyang memoir na patuloy ang komunikasyon Trump at ni King Charles sa pamamagitan ng sulat.
This is a letter from His Majesty the King. It's an invitation for a second state visit. This is really special. This has never happened before. This is unprecedented. And I think that just symbolises the strength of the relationship between us. So this is a very special letter. I think the last state visit was a tremendous success.
It was.
His Majesty the King wants to make this even better than that. So this is truly historic. An unprecedented second. I do need to.
The answer is yes. On behalf of our wonderful First Lady, Melania, and myself, the answer is yes, and we look forward to being there and honoring the King and honoring really your country. Your country is a fantastic country, and it'll be our honor to be there. Thank you very much.
Sinabi ni King Charles sa kanyang sulat kay Trump na maaari sila magkita sa Scotland upang pag-usapan muna ang state visit. Pabor daw kay Trump ayon sa mga experts magpulong muna sa Scotland lalo na at ang nanay nito ay doon pala ipinanganak.
Nasa White House, United Kingdom Prime Minister Keir Starmer at personal nitong nakasalamuha si US President Donald Trump. Bago ang isinagawang pagpupulong ay pinaabot ni Starmer ang isang sulat mula kay King Charles. Ilan sa mga tinalakay ng dalawang opisyal ay ang kalagayan sa Ukraine para matapos na ang giyera nila ng Russia at ang pagpapalakas ng depensa. Ang nasabing pagbisita ni Starmer ay isang araw bago ang pagtungo sa White House ni Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky para talakayin naman din ang usaping pangkapayapaan sa pagitan nila ng Russia.
Thank you for changing the conversation to bring about the possibility that now we can have a peace deal, and we want to work with you to make sure that peace deal is enduring, that it lasts, that it's a deal that goes down as a historic deal, that nobody breaches, and we'll work with you to make sure that that absolutely happens.
Nag-iba naman ang diskurso ng usapan ng dalawang pinuno ng Estado nang tanungin si Donald Trump ukol sa mga naging komento ni US Vice President J.D. Vance ukol sa kanyang mga komento sa Munich Security Conference na ikinagalit umano ng mga ibang pinuno ng Estado ng Europa. Hindi naman nakapagpigil si Starmer kung kaya't agad nitong sinagot ang akusasyon ni Vance ukol sa pag-censor ng Europa sa mga opinyon ng far-right parties. Iginiit ni Starmer na walang nangyayaring censorship sa kanilang bansa at kung maaari ay huwag sanang dipahin ng Estados Unidos ang pamamalakad ng ibang mga bansa.
Yeah, look, I said what I said, which is that we do have, of course, a special relationship with our friends in the UK and also with some of our European allies, but we also know that there have been infringements on free speech that actually affect not just the British, of course, what the British do in their own country is up to them, but also affect American technology companies and by extension American citizens. So that is something that we'll talk about today at lunch.
We've had free speech for a very, very long time in the United Kingdom, and it will last for a very, very long time. But no, I mean, certainly we wouldn't want to reach across US citizens, and we don't, and that's absolutely right. But in relation to free speech in the UK, I'm very proud of our history there.
Aminado naman si British Prime Minister Keir Starmer na walang mas mahalagang relasyon para sa kanyang bansa kaysa sa Estados Unidos. Bakit kaya niya ito nasabi? Mula po sa London, England, Grace Rivera para sa report.
Because when United Kingdom and the United States work together, great things happen. Yan ang dahilan ni British Prime Minister Keir Starmer kaya niya sinabi na mahalaga ang relasyon ng United Kingdom at Estados Unidos. Sa harap ng mga business leaders sa Washington DC ay sinabi ni Starmer na nais ng UK ng bagong partnership kasama ang US. Bukasan niya ang Britanya sa pakikipagnegosyo at handa rin ito na alisin ang mga hadlang sa pamumuhunan sa bansa. Determinado rin anya ang UK na tulungan ang mga US innovators na gustong magnegosyo sa United Kingdom.
And my message is really simple, that there is no more important relationship for the United Kingdom in defence, in security, in trade, in tech, in finance, and so much more. We have an incredible $1.5 trillion invested in each other's economies. Our trading relationship is not just strong, it's fair and balanced. And we work together to create amazing things, like the internet or the jet engine. But most of all, and this is really the bedrock of that relationship, we share fundamental values of openness, of democracy, freedom of speech, freedom to thrive, and freedom to pursue the future. My message is we want to work with you, we want to welcome you to Britain, we want a new partnership, because our history shows that when we work together, great things happen.
Samantala, bago pumunta si Starmer sa Estados Unidos, ay hinikayat nito ang administrasyon ni Donald Trump na magbigay ng security backdrop sa Ukraine. Ang paglalagayan niya ng peacekeeping troops sa Kiev ang siyang magbibigay ng kapayapaan sa Ukraine kaysa sa isang pansamantalang ceasefire. Wala pang final talks sina Starmer at Trump ukol sa Ukraine. Mula sa London, England, ako si Grace Rivera para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Susunod, babae at aso nahilap pataas ng elevator.
NASA kayang ma-detect ang tubig sa buwan.
At Katy Perry kasama sa space crew. Mga detalye po ng mga balita niyan at iba pa mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International. Nagbabalik ang Mata ng Agila International at sa pagpapatuloy po ng ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Kumaripas ng takbo ang 2 tao upang hindi sila matabunan ng landslide sa isang kalsada sa Leshan, China. Sa pool sa CCTV ang ilang sandali bago ang landslide. Mapapansing may isang pedestrian at street cleaner ang naparaan sa kalsada. Maya-maya ay tumakbo na ang dalawa nang nakita nila ang nagbabagsakang mga bato mula sa katabing bundok. Wala namang nasaktan o nasawi sa nasabing insidente. Nagpatupad na rin ang lokal na otoridad ng traffic control measures malapit sa site para maiwasan pa ang kahit anong secondary disasters. Pinaniniwala ang dahil sa walang tigil na ulan sa rehiyon kaya lumambot ang lupa sa bundok at siyang nagsimula ng landslide.
Isang wildfire ang tumupok sa 84 na mga bahay at buildings sa Ofunato sa Japan. Ayon sa Japan's Fire and Disaster Management Agency, kinailangan pa nila magdagdag ng 1,800 personnel upang tulungan ang mga dineploy nilang bumbero sa lugar. Nahirapan ang grupo na sugpuin ang sunog dahil sa lakas ng hangin doon. Gumamit pa sila ng 7 helicopters dahil umabot rin sa gubat ang sunog. Wala namang naiulat na nasawi o kaya nasugatan dahil sa wildfire.
Nakahinga naman na maluwag ang isang fur parent na ito sa Zhejiang, China matapos silang makaligtas ng kanyang baby sa hindi inaasahang elevator accident. Isang araw kasi habang sumakay ang mag-amo o mag-fur parent sa elevator ay naipit ang leash ng aso. Nang unti-unting bumaba na ang elevator sa susunod na palapag ay napansin ng babae na umaangat ang leash ng kanyang alaga. Dito na po kaagad na umakto ang babae at sinubukang hilahin pababa ang tali ng kanyang aso. Subalit, sa halip na mahatak ng babae ang dog leash, ay dalawa pa sila ng kanyang fur baby na nahila pataas. Buti na lamang, bago mahuli ang lahat, ay napigtas ang dog leash at pareho silang bumagsak pababa sa sahig.
Nagbabala ang hepe ng United Nations Human Rights Office ng mas lumalalang labanan sa Sudan na ayon sa ahensya ay dahilan ng lumalala ring bilang ng mga namamatay dahil sa gutom. Si Rosel Feria para sa balita.
Isang araw matapos pansamantalang itigil ng UN World Food Program ang pagrarasyon ng pagkain sa displaced camp sa North Darfur ng Sudan, nagbabala si UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, nang maramihang pagkamatay dito dahil sa gutom.
Sudan is a powder keg on the verge of a further explosion into chaos and at increasing risk of atrocity crimes and mass deaths from famine. Despite continued mediation efforts, Sudan is at a political stalemate while the bloodshed continues unabated. The danger of escalation has never been higher. Recent moves towards establishing a governing authority in areas under RSF control are likely to further entrench divisions and the risk of continued hostilities.
Sumabog ang gera sa pagitan ng Sudanese Armed Forces at Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces noong Abril 2023. Ito ay sa gitna ng agawan sa kapangyarihan ng dalawa bago ang nakatakdang transisyon sa pamahalaang sibil. Nagmitya ang labanan ng pinakamalaking displacement at pinakamalalang humanitarian crisis sa mundo. Ayon sa UN, nasa kondisyong tagsalat na ang 5 lokasyon sa Sudan. Kabilang rito ang displacement camps sa Darfur. Idinetalye ni Turk ang kalagayan ngayon ng mga naninirahan sa Sudan. Nagbabala ito na mas maraming lugar pa ang gugutumin sa mga darating na linggo.
Since the armed conflict began in 2023, a devastating human rights crisis has generated the world's largest humanitarian catastrophe. More than 600,000 people are on the brink of starvation. Famine is reported to have taken hold in 5 areas, including some displacement camp in North Darfur, where the World Food Programme has just been forced to suspend its life-saving operations due to intense fighting. 5 more areas could face famine in the next 3 months, and a further 17 are at risk. My own staff have heard harrowing testimonies of death from starvation in Khartoum and Omdurman.
Inisa-isa rin ni Turk ang mga uri ng pag-atake sa mga tao. Kasama na rito ang paggamit ng karahasang sexual bilang sandata ng gera.
My office has documented many reports of summary execution of civilians. People have been attacked on the basis of who they are, often building on past divisions along ethnic and tribal lines. Hate speech and incitement to violence are increasing tensions and polarization. As the fighting has spread across the country, appalling levels of sexual violence have followed. More than half of reported rape incidents took the form of gang rape, an indication that sexual violence is being used as a weapon of war.
Binigyang diin ni Turk ang patuloy na pagsusupply ng armas sa dalawang partido mula sa labas ng bansa.
Sudan's location at the crossroads of several sub-regions means this conflict poses a serious threat to peace and stability in the Horn of Africa, the Sahel and beyond. The continued supply of weapons from outside the country, including new and more advanced arms, also poses a serious risk.
Aniter, kung walang aksyon para sa pagwawakas ng labanan, daan-daang libo pa ang nanganganib na mamatay.
We are looking into the abyss. Humanitarian agencies warn that without action to end the war, deliver emergency aid and get agriculture back on its feet, hundreds of thousands of people could die.
Rosel Feria para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Maraming car makers ang nahihirapan ngayong makipagkumpetensya sa lumalagong industriya ng electric vehicles gaya ng Tesla at BYD. Dalawa na nga rito ay ang Renault at ang Mercedes-Benz. Si Donna Diciembre para sa detalye.
Marami mga automaker giants ang nagsulputan sa merkado ay tumaas pa rin ng 3.5% ang operating profit ng Renault. Ayon sa French carmaker, umabot ang kanilang kita sa halos $4.5 billion. Mas mataas ito kumpara sa $4.39 billion na profit forecast. Mas mababa rin anila ang kanilang gastos sa kabila ng mga bagong modelo ng kotse na kanilang inilabas. Samantala, sinabi ng Mercedes-Benz na bumagsak ng 40% ang car earnings nito. Inaasahan din ng German automaker na magkakaroon ng malaking pagbaba ang kanilang 2025 earnings dahil sa panibagong cost-cutting plan nito. Target ng Mercedes-Benz na palakasin ang sales and margins nito ngayong taon. Pinag-iisipan na rin ng kumpanya kung paano sosolusyonan ang alalahanin ng mga investors ukol sa kakayahan ng Mercedes-Benz na makisabay sa isang pandaigdigang merkado na kasama ang electronic vehicles ng Estados Unidos at ng China. Ilan sa mga nakikitang remedyo ng kumpanya ay ang paglalabas ng mas maraming modelo ng kotse na gumagamit ng petrolyo at diesel. Donna Diciembre para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Pinadala ng National Aeronautic and Space Administration o NASA sa kalawakan ng isang dishwasher-sized satellite para maghanap ng mga water sources sa mga craters ng buwan. Gamit ang Falcon 9 rocket ng SpaceX ay inilunsad ang Lunar Trailblazer Orbiter ng NASA mula sa Kennedy Space Center sa Cape Canaveral. Ayon sa NASA, may bigat na 200 kilograms ang Lunar Trailblazer. Anila, equipped ang satellite na ito ng solar panels para sa mahabang operasyon. Layon kasi ng satellite na ito na maging stepping stone para sa mga susunod pa na moon explorations ng ahensya.
Nais panatilihin pa rin ang Gilas o ni Gilas Pilipinas coach Tim Cohn ang ipinatupad nitong programa at mga manlalaro sa pagsabak nila sa FIBA Asia Cup sa buwan ng Agosto. Ito ay kasunod ng mga pagkatalo sa last window ng FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers at sa second Doha International Cup. Giit nito na hindi magbabawas o magdaragdag ang Gilas depende na lamang sa kasalukuyang manlalaro nito kung nais nilang manatili pa sa national team. Ilan kasi sa balakid kapag nagdagdag ng mga manlalaro ay ang budget, ganun din ang oras na pagbiyahe para sa mga mag-e-ensayo. Magugunitang matapos ang panalo sa Qatar ay nabigo ang Gilas sa Egypt at Lebanon sa nagdaang friendly game sa Doha. Maging sa final window ng FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers ay bigo sila sa kamay ng Chinese Taipei at New Zealand. Natagpo ang patay ang Hollywood actress na si Michelle Trachtenberg sa edad na 39. Ayon sa mga kapulisan ng New York, nakatanggap sila ng tawag sa 911 at nakita ang bangkay ng aktres sa kanyang apartment sa Manhattan. Hindi pa nila matukoy ang naging sanhi ng kanyang kamatayan kung kaya't kanilang ipinasuri sa mga eksperto ang bangkay nito. Ang aktres ay sumikat noong kabataan niya sa pelikulang Harriet the Spy. Taong 2004 ay sumabak ito sa hit summer movie na Eurotrip at ilang mga sikat na soap opera sa Estados Unidos. At nakilala din ito sa kanyang pagganap kay Georgina Sparks sa hit television series na Gossip Girl.
Natagpo ang wala na buhay ang kilalang aktor na tanyag sa kanyang mga pelikula at ang asawa nito na si Betsy Arakawa, 64 years old, pati ang kanilang aso na wala na ring buhay sa kanilang bahay sa Santa Fe, New Mexico. Patuloy pa rin ang ginagawang investigasyon ukol sa insidente. Samantala, kilala si Gene Hackman na nanalo ng 2 Oscars sa kanyang 60-year career sa pelikula, telebisyon at teatro. Dati rin itong marine at kilala sa kanyang raspy voice. Naging bahagi rin siya ng mahigit 80 pelikula at kilala sa kanyang kakayahang magbigay ng malalim na pagganap sa mga karakter na bida kontra bida. Nakuha ni Hackman ang unang nominasyon para sa Academy Award para sa kanyang papel bilang kapatid ni Clyde Barrow sa pelikulang Bonnie and Clyde noong taong 1967. Kasunod dito, muling nakuha ni Hackman ang nominasyon para sa Best Supporting Actor sa pelikulang I Never Sang for My Father noong taong 1971. Sumikat pa ang pangalan ni Hackman nang gampanan nito ang papel ni Popeye Doyle, isang matapang at determinadong detective mula sa New York sa pelikulang The French Connection noong taong 1971 na nagbigay naman sa kanya ng Academy Award para sa Best Actor. Nanalo rin siya ng Best Supporting Actor Oscar noong taong 1993 para sa kanyang papel bilang isang malupit na sheriff sa Clint Eastwood movie na Unforgiven. Sa iba pa mga balita, kabilang naman po si Katy Perry sa isang all-female space crew na Blue Origin. Makakasama niya sina Gayle King, Aisha Bowe, Amanda Nguyen, Carrie Ann Flynn at Lauren Sanchez. Hindi sinabi ng kumpanya kung kailan ang space mission ni na Katy, subalit excited na ang singer sa kanyang gagawin dahil magsisilbihan niya itong ehemplo sa kanyang anak na babae na women should take up space.
Susunod, Japan gumagamit na rin ng AI robots.
Robot Dog Athletics event inilunsad ng isang Chinese media group.
At abangan ang iba pang mga storya pagdating ni Alma Angeles at ng Mata ng Agila World News. Iba pang detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka nang mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Dahil sa aging population sa Japan ay nagkukulang na ang bilang ng mga care workers sa bansa, kung kaya't bilang tugon rito ay humingi ang Tokyo ng tulong sa mga artificial intelligence o AI robots. Nagdevelop ang mga mananaliksik sa Waseda University ng AI-driven humanoid robots na dinisenyo para mag-alaga sa mga elderly. Pinondohan ito ng gobyerno ng Japan bilang bahagi ng care facility ng Tokyo sa mga susunod na dekada. Batay sa datos ng Tokyo, inaasahang babagsak ng 10% ang bilang ng mga taong nasa age bracket na 15 to 64 sa 2035. Ang edad 65 kasi ang age limit ng employment sa mga kumpanya sa Japan. Naniniwala naman si Professor Shigeki Sugano, ang lead researcher sa proyekto, na magiging matagumpay ang kanilang proyekto. Anya, ang mga robot sa sasagot sa labor shortage na posibleng maranasan ng Japan sa mga susunod na taon. Dagdag pa ni Sugano, maaring sa taong 2040 ay mailulunsad ang AI rec sa publiko, habang sa 2050 naman ay maaaring maging autonomous ang robot sa mga nursing care facility.
Sinimula na po ngayong linggo ng China Media Group o CMG ang kauna-unahang Robot Dog Athletics event. Ayon sa CMG, marami ang naging excited sa unang edisyon ng World Robot Skills Games. Anila, layo ng event na ito na itampok ang athletic prowess ng mga quadruped robots sa iba't ibang karera at field sports din. Higit pa po rito, pinagsama-sama rin ng event ang iba't ibang world's top robotic research teams para isulong ang innovative development sa global robotics sector. Inaasahan ding magiging malaki ang event dahil magkakaroon din ng themed challenges sa mismong palaro. Akalain mo, Nina?
Yun, sige, go. Gusto ko marinig yan.
Akalain mo, napakabilis talaga ng araw.
Totoo
dahil
yan.
Last day na of February. Bukas ay Marso na.
And the weekend approaches. Parang
diba?
ano yan, Para siyang tulay na tatawid ka from February to March. Tapos, pa-weekend. So parang feeling ko lang, parang special tong weekend na paparating.
Special talaga, diba? Ako, kaya sana po ay maging special din ang inyong mga weekend.
For sure.
At see you next month.
Oo. Naku, wag naman silang mainip. Kasi mga 2 araw lang naman.
Tulog lang po.
Magpapamiss lang po kami ng konting-konti.
Ayan, so magkita-kita po tayo muli sa Lunes. Happy weekend, everybody. At tandaan, mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, narito kami ni Nina para maghatid ang balita sa atmang dako ng mundo. Magandang gabi po. Happy weekend. Ako muli si Rikki Mathay.
At happy weekend sa inyo. Ako naman si Rikki, Alagao, Flores. Ito pa rin ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman po sa mga balitang nangyari rin sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta naman tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Rikki. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for Net 25 World News. On tonight's headlines. A high-stakes White House meeting as Ukraine's leader comes to Washington. President Trump confirms Zelensky will sign a rare minerals deal, but with conditions. And what's really on the table when these two leaders face off?
There was an initial deal, and that deal was access to those rare earth metals, which are under dispute, as I say, in exchange for services rendered, as in not in exchange for future monies or for oil or for security guarantees for Ukraine, but in fact for past assistance. So, in a sense, there was a degree of extortion there.
In Japan, a coastal city in crisis as flames tear through Ofunato. The battle against the blaze continues into its second day. And could robots soon become caregivers? Meet Irek, the gentle giant being taught to tend to Japan's elderly. How this 150-kilogram humanoid is rolling patients, helping with socks, and potentially solving a healthcare crisis in the world's fastest aging nation. Net 25 World News starts now. In a diplomatic gesture with royal backing, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has delivered a special invitation to current U.S. President Donald Trump during his White House visit today. Now, this invitation comes as the two leaders discuss critical security matters regarding Ukraine. Royal diplomacy was on display at the White House today as British Prime Minister Keir Starmer arrived with more than just policy proposals. Tucked in his pocket was a personal invitation from King Charles III, offering President Trump a second state visit to Britain.
It is my pleasure to bring from His Majesty the King a letter. He sends his best wishes and his regards, of course, but he also asked me to bear this letter and bring it to you. So can I present the letter from the King to you?
Thank you very much. Am I supposed to read it right now?
Yeah, please do.
Well, that is really nice. I must make sure his signature's on that. Otherwise, it's not quite as meaningful. It is, and that's quite a signature, isn't it? Beautiful.
This is a letter from His Majesty the King. It's an invitation for a second state visit. This is really special. This has never happened before. This is unprecedented.
The answer is yes. On behalf of our wonderful First Lady, Melania, and myself, the answer is yes.
The royal gesture came as Starmer sought stronger security guarantees for Ukraine. While both the UK and France have offered to deploy peacekeeping troops in the region, President Trump appeared unmoved on additional military commitments. Despite the cordial exchange, clear differences emerged over Ukraine during their press conference. While Starmer pressed for lasting security guarantees, Trump focused instead on potential trade opportunities.
My concern is that if there's a deal, and I hope there is a deal, that it must be a lasting deal, that it's not a temporary measure, and that is why I think it's really important that Putin knows that this deal, a historic deal, which I very much hope comes about, is there, and it's a lasting deal, and that we're able to deal with any inclination he has to go again or go further.
I think we'll have two deals. I think we'll have a deal on ending the war, and I think we're going to end up with a great trade deal with you. And it's an honor to be with you, and I want to thank everybody very much. Thank you very much.
As President Trump accepts this unprecedented second royal invitation, the key question remains whether diplomatic gestures, even those with royal backing, will influence his approach to Ukraine's security concerns. In what appears to be a shift in tone, President Trump has walked back previous criticisms of Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky during today's press conference. During his joint appearance with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, President Trump was confronted with his past characterization of the Ukrainian leader. When asked directly by a journalist if he still considered President Zelensky to be a dictator, and Trump appeared to distance himself from his earlier comments.
President, do you still think that Mr. Zelensky is a dictator?
Did I say that? I can't believe I said that. Next question. We have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for him. We've given him a lot of equipment and a lot of money, but they have fought very bravely, no matter how you figure it. They have really fought. Somebody has to use that equipment, and they have been very brave in that sense.
Now, sitting alongside Starmer in the Oval Office, Trump also said he thinks a peace deal reached with Russia would hold, and said he doesn't think Putin would invade Ukraine again.
Do you think that Vladimir Putin would be likely to invade again in the event of a peace deal?
I don't think so. I think when we have a deal, it's going to be the deal. I don't believe he's going to violate his word. I don't think he'll be back. When we make a deal, I think the deal is going to hold. Now, they're going to have security. You're going to have security. You're going to have soldiers. I know France wants to be there.
Now, when asked if Putin could be trusted, Trump said this.
You know, it's trust and verify. Let's call it that. And I think we both can be that way. You have to verify because you never know what's going to happen. I know.
A potentially game-changing minerals agreement between the U.S. and Ukraine has raised significant questions about its feasibility and implications. Now, President Trump confirmed today that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will visit the White House to sign what he called a very big agreement on rare earth minerals. But experts are questioning the deal's practicality amid ongoing territorial disputes. But the agreement has sparked debate among experts who question both the scale of Ukraine's mineral deposits and the feasibility of mining them during an active conflict. James Nixie, director of the Russia-Eurasia program at Chatham House, explains.
So the Ukrainians are claiming that they have some 5% of the world's rare earth metals in their territory. That is to say, in internationally recognized Ukrainian territory, which is not the same as what Kiev actually controls right now, of course. However, even this figure is disputed. There are reports out there which suggest that that has been overestimated and that Ukraine does not have as much as it claims, which brings into question the whole nature of the deal. But beyond that, of course, as Ukraine is a country at war, as it is a country that is under occupation in parts of its territory, then this brings into question the fact that it means that the war is a huge variable, the outcome of the war. So whether a deal is done or a victory is achieved on the battlefield will have an effect on the deal itself. So it does seem rather premature to agree on a deal when you don't know the full extent of the deposits, and you don't know who's controlling them.
The stakes are particularly high given the strategic importance of these minerals. Russia and China currently supply 55% of the world's uranium enrichment capacity, and Russia's invasion of Ukraine has dramatically altered global supply chains for these critical resources. Nixie suggests the initial proposal had troubling undertones.
There was an initial deal, and that deal was access to those rare earth metals, which are under dispute, as I say, in exchange for services rendered, as in not in exchange for future monies or for security guarantees for Ukraine, but in fact for past assistance. So in a sense, there was a degree of extortion there. Ukraine was to hand over its wealth in return for what it had supposedly been given. That deal has now been revised somewhat, but the terms of it are still unclear.
The agreement comes amid a complex diplomatic landscape. President Trump, who once called Zelensky a dictator, now appears to be pursuing a closer relationship. According to Nixie, Zelensky may be considering significant concessions.
We know that in one of his rasher moments, shall we say, that President Trump called Volodymyr Zelensky a dictator without elections. Zelensky's response was, well, I'm happy to cede power, but if I do so, then I'm going to need something back from you. So he seems willing. He appears willing to make a certain self-sacrifice if Ukraine gets something in return. But as it stands, and I need to be clear about this, Ukraine isn't getting enough back for there to be a substantial deal.
Despite these concerns, Ukraine sees value in securing a formal agreement with Washington.
Well, I think there is some value to Ukraine, which is why they're going ahead with this, not just in a meeting with President Trump, but ensuring that there can be some sort of concrete relationship, something which actually significantly gets done.
As for the ultimate outcome of this complex situation, Nixie offers a sobering assessment.
In terms of a winner, I mean, it's yet to be decided. But I would say that all things being equal, then there actually are no winners in this war. Not the Ukrainians, who have been emasculated and have had so many of their own people slaughtered, but also naturally this is debilitating Russia for the sake of a dream of an empire, and that isn't going particularly well either. So I don't think there are any winners. Obviously, Trump wants to be the winner. Ukraine wants to continue to exist. Russia wants its empire. Those three things can't coexist in the same space-time continuum.
President Zelensky's visit will be closely watched for signs of how this minerals agreement might reshape not just U.S.-Ukraine relations, but potentially the trajectory of the ongoing conflict. And we're following a developing story out of Japan tonight, where the northeastern city of Funatu is battling devastating wildfires. It's a heartbreaking scene, and unfortunately, we're now reporting one person has died. Dozens of buildings are damaged, and firefighters are working around the clock to get these flames under control. Now, these fires, they started Wednesday, but they've just been spreading rapidly across this coastal city. Officials said helicopters have been deployed from local fire departments, police, and even the self-defense forces, all trying to get a handle on this from the air. And we're talking about roughly 1,200 hectares burned. That's a massive area, and the damage is extensive so far. They're estimating over 80 buildings have been hit, but sadly, that number could climb. And get this, dry air advisories have been in place for over a week down there. It's just fueled these flames, and right now, over 800 people are in evacuation centers. And for those of you who remember, Funatu was one of the hardest hit areas during the 2011 earthquake and tsunami. Meanwhile, Cyclone Garan slammed into the French overseas territory of La Réunion with top wind speeds of 155 kilometers per hour today, blowing away roofs and cutting power and access to drinking water for many residents. Now, the island's prefect, Patrice Latron, said there were no reports so far of any deaths. The cyclone made landfall in the north of the Indian Ocean island, which lies off Madagascar. It exited the southwest of the island several hours later, according to Meteo France weather agency. The prefecture said 180,000 households, about 42% of the electricity utilities customers, had lost power, and nearly 10% had no access to drinking water. The prefecture said the worst of the storm had passed, and a storm alert had been downgraded from the highest level, purple, to red. And this meant rescue workers could now leave their shelters and start to assess damage and help those affected. A mandatory order for residents to stay indoors remained in place, and authorities expected rough weather conditions until at least the end of the day. Top winds had dropped to 130 kilometers per hour. Meteo France said, but higher gusts were possible on the southwest of the island, with heavy rains now seen as a bigger risk. In nearby Mauritius, authorities reopened the airport after a threat from the storm eased. 2 Russian divers have tragically lost their lives in a Philippine scuba incident. Russian divers aged 18 to 57 and their dive master were exploring near Batangas on Luzon last Thursday when a strong current pulled them apart. While 3 divers managed to surface and return to their boat safely, rescuers later recovered the bodies of 2 men. The first victim was pronounced dead upon arrival at a local hospital. The second, found between 4 and 5:30 p.m., was retrieved after being caught in the jaws of a shark, his arm missing, and it's still unclear whether the shark attack caused his death or if he was already deceased. Notably, shark attacks in these waters are exceedingly rare, with no incidents recorded in the past year. And the news continues here on Net 25. We'll be right back.
Halakhakan na may kasamang konting drama tayo ngayong kasama si Smokey Manaloto. Alam niyo bang bukod sa pagiging komedyante, pinangarap daw ni Smokey maging matinee idol? Bakit hindi at bakit hindi natuloy? Naranasan din daw niyang maging laos at nawala ng karera. Lagi raw busted. Totoo ba yon pagdating sa mga babae? At para mamend ang kanyang broken heart, totoo bang bumili siya ng BMW? Sosyal ha? Yan at marami pang iba, dito lang niya isisiwalat sa kauna-unahang pagkakataon sa Corina Interviews. Tuwing linggo po yan, 6 p.m. sa Net 25.
Listen at 25.
U.S. President Donald Trump says his proposed 25% tariffs on Mexican and Canadian goods will take effect on March 4th. At the same time, he will slap an extra 10% duty on Chinese imports because deadly drugs are still pouring into the U.S. from those countries. Now, Trump told reporters in the Oval Office that the fresh tariffs on Chinese imports will be on top of the 10% that he levied on February 4th over the fentanyl opioid crisis. The end result, a cumulative 20% tariff on Chinese imports, 20% tariff on Chinese imports. Mathay likeness for more.
Things are about to get more expensive for U.S. consumers. Trump's tariffs are going to raise the cost of goods coming from Canada, Mexico, and China. And Americans will feel the pinch at the cash register. A lot of fresh fruit and vegetables are brought in from Mexico, especially during the winter months. Chinese goods dominate the shelves of retailers. And Canada supplies raw materials, things like lumber, oil, car parts, and other items. All of that means higher prices and a boost in the inflation rate. Trump justifies the import surcharges, saying the three countries are responsible for the drug crisis in the U.S. He had given Canada and Mexico a 1-month reprieve from the tariffs, but he says he doesn't believe a lot of progress has been made to stem the flow of illegal narcotics.
I don't see it at all, no, not on drugs. The drugs come in through Mexico. They come, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them come from China.
China's embassy has not commented on the latest tariffs. And Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau dismisses Trump's claims that a lot of fentanyl comes from America's northern neighbor.
For months now, I've been emphasizing that less than 1% of the fentanyl that arrives in the United States comes from Canada. But we know that even that 1%, or less than 1%, should be reduced, which is why we've invested $1.3 billion in strengthening our border capacities with Black Hawk helicopters, with drones, with 10,000 people patrolling our borders and keeping Canadians and Americans safe.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says she hopes to reach a deal with the U.S. She says top Mexican officials are in Washington for talks with the U.S. government.
The goal is to protect the trade treaty between Mexico, the U.S. and Canada, and within this frame see what actions to take to strengthen the three economies. So, Mexican ministers in Washington, D.C. have studied the issues thoroughly, and there have been previous discussions. So I hope we can reach an agreement, and on March 4th we can announce another thing.
Canadians in particular are not impressed with the impending trade war. Many are boycotting American products. Others have canceled planned U.S. vacations. And for his part, Trudeau says Canada's not about to roll over and take Trump's economic bullying.
If on Tuesday there are unjustified tariffs brought in on Canada, we will have an immediate and extremely strong response, as Canadians expect.
Trump's next target will be the European Union. He says the relationship between the United States and the EU hasn't been good.
And we do have problems with the EU because they've tariffed us. They do it in the form of a VAT tax, which is about 20%, and many other taxes. They sue our companies. They sued Apple, got $16 or $17 billion, which was, I think, totally a ridiculous decision. And they're suing Google for a lot of money. They're suing a lot of other companies, and we don't like the way they're treating our people now. We don't like the way they're treating our companies.
Trump downplays the potential inflationary impact of tariffs for Americans. He argues that his first-term tariffs on China raised hundreds of billions of dollars without negatively affecting the U.S. economy. Rebecca Christie is an analyst with the economic think tank, the Brussels-based Bruegel Institute. She says she's not surprised by Trump's tariff talk.
Trump's whole political brand is to create a sense of victimhood, to create a sense that the most powerful people in the most powerful country in the world are somehow the people who are truly being harmed here.
She adds it's difficult to say what the American president will do, as he's reversed himself many times. Christie describes him as a disruptive force.
Trump is creating uncertainty, he's creating chaos, he likes to make headlines, and he likes to convince his base that he is defending the U.S. from some sort of oppressor, defending U.S. companies, U.S. workers, U.S. rich people. Someone out there is oppressing, again, the world's biggest economy, the world's richest economy, some of the richest people in the world. We should expect him to keep saying these things. We should look for what he actually does, what his actions are, and not just react to every single thing that he says is going to happen.
So once again, the world waits to see what Trump's final decision on tariffs will be and whether delegations from Canada and Mexico, currently in Washington, can change his mind. The chaos continues. Thomas I. Likeness, Net 25 World News.
In Washington, the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, claims it has saved an eye-popping $65 billion in federal funds. But new data tells a very different story. And so far, DOGE has only canceled federal contracts and lease agreements worth $144 million. Could it be that the rest of those savings are nothing more than inflated figures? DOGE officials say they plan to provide real-time data, yet data lags mean key details remain missing. Without a clear breakdown of where these savings are coming from, critics are asking, are these numbers genuine or just a bold sales pitch? And can anyone verify that $65 billion is truly on the books? Launched on January 2025 under President Trump to streamline government operations and trim waste, DOGE was led by none other than his close aide Elon Musk.
I actually just call myself a humble tech support here because this is actually, as crazy as it sounds, that is almost a literal description of the work that the DOGE team is doing. The overall goal here with the DOGE team is to help address the enormous deficit. We simply cannot sustain as a country $2 trillion deficits. The interest rates, just the interest on the national debt, now exceeds the Defense Department spending. We spend a lot on the Defense Department, but we're spending over $1 trillion on interest. If this continues, the country will become de facto bankrupt. It's not an optional thing, it is an essential thing. That's the reason I'm here. And taking a lot of flack, and getting a lot of death threats, by the way. I mean, I'd like to stack them up, you know. But if we don't do this, America will go bankrupt. That's why it has to be done.
Yet, despite these bold claims, DOGE's latest report only confirms the cancellation of 2,299 federal contracts across 47 departments, nearly double last week's count. But still, lists lease cancellations at just $144 million. Previous errors have only added fuel to the fire. A reported $8 billion in savings on one contract was later corrected to $8 million, and supposed cuts of nearly $900 million from the Department of Education's budget are now under intense scrutiny, with independent reviews suggesting that nearly $400 million may have been wasted. As experts from both sides weigh in, many are questioning whether DOGE's numbers are more smoke than substance.
Also, we will make mistakes. We won't be perfect, but when we make a mistake, we'll fix it very quickly.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio sharply criticized Thailand for sending at least 40 detained Uyghurs back to China, saying the move puts them at serious risk of torture and persecution.
The UN Human Rights Office called Thailand's return of at least 40 Uyghurs to China a clear violation of international human rights laws on Thursday.
It's now important for the Chinese authorities to disclose their whereabouts.
And U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio condemned the move and called on Thai authorities to, quote, fully verify continuously that Chinese authorities protect Uyghurs' human rights. The Uyghurs held in Thailand were part of a group of 300 who fled China and were arrested in 2014. Some were sent back to China and others to Turkey, with the rest kept in Thai custody. Rights groups accuse Beijing of widespread abuses of Uyghurs, a mainly Muslim ethnic minority numbering about 10 million in the western region of Xinjiang. Beijing denies any abuses. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Zhen said the detainees were repatriated in line with the laws of both countries. Thailand's defense minister said China had given its assurances that the group would be looked after and that they were sent back in accordance with international standards.
The images have already spread worldwide. If we go back on our promise to our neighboring country, it would be wrong, not just towards them, but the whole world would see it. Therefore, I am confident that China will take good care of this group of people.
Now, more details have emerged in the case of actor Gene Hackman's mysterious death. The 95-year-old icon was found on his kitchen floor by sheriff's deputies executing a search warrant at his Santa Fe home, while his 64-year-old wife, pianist Betsy Arakawa, and the couple's dog were discovered in a bathroom amid scattered prescription pills. Here's more.
Yeah, I was thinking... More details have emerged regarding the death of actor Gene Hackman, who was found dead of unknown causes alongside his wife and their dog at the couple's home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. After entering with a search warrant, sheriff's deputies found the body of the 95-year-old actor on the kitchen floor. His wife, 64-year-old pianist Betsy Arakawa, and the dog were found in the bathroom with scattered pills from an open prescription bottle on the bathroom counter. Authorities said on Thursday that both Hackman and Arakawa appeared to have suddenly fallen to the floor, and neither showed signs of blunt force trauma. A sheriff's department statement said foul play was not suspected, but authorities said the deaths were, quote, suspicious enough in nature to require a thorough search and investigation. According to the warrant application, a maintenance worker first discovered the bodies. A 911 call released Thursday by Santa Fe County revealed that the worker could not access the home, but that he could see a woman on the floor through the window.
Santa Fe 911, what is your emergency?
Hello, my name is... I'm the caretaker for Santa Fe Summit. I'm here about past 10,000 waves. I think we just found one deceased person inside a house. What's the address here? There's no address. There's no address. I'm going to wait for you at the gate. I'm going to wait for you to please send somebody really quick.
The home's front door was ajar, although there were no signs of forced entry. There were also no obvious signs of a gas or carbon monoxide leak, but those possibilities were still under investigation on Thursday, while detectives were awaiting autopsy reports and toxicology test results. Hackman appeared in more than 80 films, including his Oscar-winning turn in The French Connection, as well as on television and the stage during a lengthy career that began in the early 1960s.
Now, despite AI's major boost in all platforms, not all users of the technology in Canada are convinced of its accuracy and reliability. In Toronto, Net25 correspondent Chantel Santos has this report.
AI, or artificial intelligence, is clearly becoming the norm in day-to-day life. And recent poll reports the majority of Canadians are skeptical, and that increase in AI use makes information sources less credible. The same sentiment is mirrored in Canadians' confidence in how AI positively contributes to the economy across all provinces. According to the same report by CanTrust Index, there are generational differences. Millennials and Gen Z Canadians have a higher level of trust in AI's reliability. Older Canadians polled said that they do trust in online news, but that they do not find AI language models credible. Overall, across all generations polled, they reported having more faith and trust in traditional news sources like newspapers, TV, and radio broadcasts. Experts say that only time can tell if trust in AI will improve. People these days are skeptical and spend more time fact-checking the information they see online, as AI does not understand complicated nuances and ideas the way humans could. Chantal Santos, Toronto, Ontario, for Net25 World News.
In Tokyo, researchers have unveiled a gentle giant that might revolutionize elderly care. Meet IREC, a human-sized robot designed to change diapers and prevent bed sores in a country facing a critical shortage of caregivers. Take a look.
As an aging population in Japan causes a severe shortage of care workers, researchers hope IREC can ease the problem. It is an AI-driven humanoid robot designed to carry out tasks for elderly people who need critical care, such as changing diapers or preventing bed sores. EREC is being developed by researchers at Japan's Waseda University. The project is funded by a government program designed to foster disruptive innovation to resolve difficult societal issues. Professor Shigeki Sugano leads the research.
As we are entering a super-aging society and the birth rate is declining, we will need robots' support in providing medical and elderly care and in our daily lives. Unfortunately, the current robot technologies are still in a premature stage when it comes to interacting with people and supporting them. The ultimate goal of our project is to somehow achieve that.
Sugano says EREC can make physical contact with people safely and adjusts its actions in response to spontaneous human moves. A dwindling working age in Japan has prompted the country to turn its eyes to robots for a solution. Over the next decade, the number of people in the 15 to 64 age bracket is projected to fall almost 10%, according to the National Institute of Population and Social Security Research. This care facility in Tokyo is already experimenting with various smart devices to help reduce caregivers' burden. Its COO, Takashi Miyamoto, says a chronic labor shortage in the elderly care sector will likely only get worse. He believes the days when robots will work alongside human caregivers are, quote, certain to come. Resident Yukiko Namekata was asked about her view on the possibility of having a robot care worker. She said, "Isn't it a little too early for that?" Care worker Takagi is cautiously optimistic about the use of robots.
If such a robot were really created, I think it would be very helpful to us in the field. However, I'm a little bit worried that the warmth generated from human interaction between residents and caregivers and the subtle communication, such as reading the room and understanding the situation, might be difficult to replicate.
Sugano hopes EREC can start to be put into actual use in various occasions by 2040. And by 2050, he hopes it will be able to work independently at a nursing care facility or even conduct medical operations with doctors.
And with that, we have tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Net 25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you all for joining us. Good night.